Hello, everybody. We're back for part two of Golden Nugget number 3 review. In this section, I'm going to be covering chapter 4. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening to you whenever you're viewing this. Again, I trust that you are doing well. For me, I'm taking advantage of this remote working. I'm calling it no shave COVID. So I don't know if there's any of you men out there that are taking advantage. Usually we associate it with no shave November. Certainly women, you can take advantage of no shaving as well. So I don't want to discriminate against that. But anyway, letting the facial hair grow here. So anyway, so welcome back. Today's lesson is, or this portion of the part 2 is going to be on networking. So when you hear that word, what do you think? Anybody get a little bit nervous? You start to sweat, palms get a little bit clammy. This is going to challenge you. Okay, this section of the book is probably going to be probably next to interviewing, which is kind of closely related. Unfortunately, we can't actually exercise this. Professor Nelson and I, normally during the resident face-to-face classes, we have a professional skills brunch, we have a practice brunch, and you're actually interacting with professionals. So unfortunately, we're not able to do that this time. But it's just going to rely more upon you getting out there and being actively involved with that. I kind of divide this section or this discussion point up into two approaches. There's a passive approach and there's an active approach. The passive approach is really kind of what I talked about in part 1, just the self-assessment, the research that you can do online. You can connect on professional sites. You can build your LinkedIn or other professional sites that you connect with. You can email people. Maybe you're just engaging in a very small, close-knit population, which is okay. All these things are necessary and they're important. But I really would encourage you that you need to expand beyond that. You need to expand your circle. You need to network, and you need to actively involved in your network. There's a quote out there that says, it's not about who you know, but about who knows you. Building and maintaining these mutually beneficial relationships to land you that job, that internship, and that career choice. In being active, you're actually seeking out and participating in professional networking events. You're just calling businesses directly or walking in businesses. Can't do that now, but once things open up socially, we can do that, and just go in directly and say, hey, I'd like to set up an informational interview with your marketing director. You talk to everyone that you can, neighbors, friends of your parents, your instructors, your advisors, your people around the university. Connect with our career development office. You can connect within the Northwestern Alumni Network. Those people want to help and reach out. They've been where you've been. So just in taking an active approach. In future lessons, we're going to talk about, we're actually doing exercise on looking at internet sites for jobs, things like Indeed, Monster, those types of things. But the research shows us that 80% of the jobs that we get are through networking, and only 20% is done through online applications. So something to think about. The next section I want to talk about is when you interact with people, it is really important, especially for somebody that you don't know or in a professional environment. You have got to be able to know how to introduce yourself. Justin may have covered this in previous lessons, but part of it is having a good firm handshake. All right, you don't want to have a limp handshake, good grip, but you've got to be able to introduce yourself. Maybe that's 30 to 45 seconds. Let me practice with you here right now. Hello, my name is Brad Fensky. I work for the University of Northwestern St. Paul in the Registrar's Office. I've been here about 3 years. My primary duties include serving as an advisor to veterans and their education benefits, work with international students, and I also do athletic eligibility. Been at Northwestern about 3 years. Prior to that, I served 20 years active duty in the United States Army, served as a military intelligence officer. Things I value, my faith and my family. I've been married for nearly 23 years, have 4 kids. And just some important things in my life is integrity, working hard, being a team player, and having a great attitude. And everything I do it and strive for excellence. Now, if you hit a timer on me, that probably took about 45 seconds. Clear, concise, to the point. You want to be memorable. You want to list some jobs and experiences and things that you've had, things that make you memorable. What are people going to remember? What do you remember about what I just said? Maybe a 20-year career in the Army, maybe working with veterans, my family, married, my faith. These answers, kind of connect to your personal brand, who you are. I put out some skill sets that I think are important to me. If that's something important to an interviewer or within a job, they're gonna remember those types of things. So something like that, you have got to practice. You got to remember. So let's talk a little bit more about networking. Right now, whether it's in your phone or a notebook, you've got to know your network. Professional people that you can connect with. Don't wait until you need a network to make the connections with people now. Start doing that now. It's really, really important. Network with your neighbors. Like I said earlier, there may be somebody right next door that works in a company or works in an area or a profession that you want to do, or within a profession. Say it's in marketing, it's in sales, it's in real estate, something with accounting or taxes. Just knock on the door. Go around. This is where I'm telling you, making you feel uncomfortable is getting out there and doing those things. Your parents know people, right? You may think you know everything about your parents, but they may have connections. They may have a Bible study that they're a part of, or groups that they connect, groups of people that they connect with, and they can be your advocates. And sometimes we just have to have conversations with our parents, kind of on that adult level. That's going to help us make those connections that we need as we build out our network. Paul spends several sections talking about informational interviews. I want to touch base on this for a minute or two. It's found in sections 31 and 32 of your book, but it's just really important to spend some time doing research, doing your preparation, and say, hey, I just want to go connect with that business, right? That company or that marketing section. And on page 109 and 110, there's really good questions that you can ask as part of an information interview. Paula goes into great detail about how you set that up, email formats, how you prepare for it. And probably one of the really most important things is once that interview is conducted, how you follow up with them in a thank you note. And that's just so important to do. It's not something that's real common, for your age group, but man, just going and buying a simple thank you card, and just writing a handwritten note would be fantastic. Email is good as well, but something to keep in mind. Touch base a little bit, be actively involved in your alumni network. You can actually start connecting with Northwestern alumni right now, whether it's within LinkedIn or other sites. You can join some professional associations, different mentorship programs, and different things that you can connect with them on member benefits. Like I said earlier, attending some networking and professional conferences and events. Paula goes into greater detail about the do's and don'ts for some of those things. So I encourage you to take a look and read through that, because there's definitely some things on how you want to conduct yourself, right? We already talked about introducing yourself and a handshake, but not dominating conversations, how you dress. I know we're going to spend some more time in the course talking about dressing professionally and dressing for success. Having your business card and your resume and your cover letters. That's the whole point of this class, is to prepare you to do those things. And then while you're doing the networking and interviewing, how you conduct yourself is really important as well. And then she kind of wraps up chapter 4 with some follow-up tips and some keeping in contact. And this is just something, it's kind of like physical fitness. It's not something that you can do once a month, right? If you want to be effective in what you're doing, or it's nutrition or whatever. And this is something in terms of networking and keeping in touch with your network, just popping an email or text message to somebody that you consider a coach or a mentor, once a month, just touching base. You just never know what might open up in the future for a job with regards to that. Again, it's something that you've got to continue to maintain. That about wraps up what I want to talk about. I want to share something really interesting to you that I came across a book. My wife, Angela, works for Chick-fil-A here in Coon Rapids in the North Metro. Just a phenomenal organization. There's a book here about the founder, Truett Cathy. And I want to read a section of the book because it goes right along with what I've been talking about. in this lesson about first impressions, handshake, eye contact. So let me share this with you. Almost every day I am reminded that you can see the signs of quality early. When I meet a 16-year-old, I can tell pretty quickly if he or she has the potential to be an owner-operator someday of a Chick-fil-A franchise. I'm guilty of making up my mind in the first 2 minutes about that. A firm handshake and a great smile go a long way, and I expect a teenager to look me in the eye. How you present yourself is very important. You should dress neatly, keep yourself clean, and have a nice haircut. Years ago, I was looking for a chief financial officer at Chick-fil-A, and I learned of a man who lived nearby and had graduated number 2 in his class from law school. He had also passed the CPA exam, and he looked just like what we needed. I called him, set up a meeting, and when I got to the place, he didn't bother to get up out of his chair. Then he gave me a limp handshake. I knew right away that I would not want that guy on my staff. I went through the interview, but my mind was made up. Pretty interesting stuff right there, just in a few lines in a book. Firm handshake, how you dress, looking people in the eye. Ladies and gentlemen, those are some very simple things that you can do to make a first impression in a future person or business or somebody that you interview with. So just some things to keep in mind there. In final comments, again, it's your ability to network and engage with those around you is just so critical. And it's also I would say it's more important than what you have on paper, right? This week we're gonna learn about cover letters, and next week resume building, and those things that you put on paper is just kind of that first step, right, through the process. All right, but you've got to interview, you've got to meet with people face to face, you've got to shake hands, you've got to look them into the eye, and then that has to match with what's on paper as well. So your interpersonal skills are really important. That's what seals the deal. So with that, enjoy week 3 of distance learning or virtual learning environment at Northwestern. I trust and pray you guys are well, and we'll talk to you soon. Take care.